You make a good point in your book that reading without reflection is not really good to any of us, and you mentioned that as well in the podcast. So how do we learn that skill, especially for those of us who grew up in an environment that you describe where we may have read purely to meet criteria for classes?
I think the best way to learn how to read better is to read poetry. I know that sounds odd. It's not a typical thing for modern people, but when you realize hymns are poetry, so I'm not asking people to read beyond hymns, but even to start there. And the difference between a poem and prose, if we think of non-poetry, is you can always ask the question, like, let's say you read a chapter, like, just give me the summary. Like, or, in the States, we've got Cliff Notes. Like, I don't want to read the book, just give me the Cliff Notes. And that's the way we often read. I mean, we'll go online, we'll get like a doodle video that'll tell us the essence of a book so we don't actually have to go and read it. You can't do that with poetry. What a poem is it's reducing the words to a bare minimum, and everyone is essential in order for the meaning to have its full impact. And so when you encounter something like a hymn, if you're going to read it well, you have to pay attention, first of all, to the words. But then what's even more important is there are going to be a lot of literary devices. There are going to be metaphors, and there are going to be comparisons, and there's going to be allusions. And so if you're willing to, in a sense, sit and look, and it's the difference between, okay, I'm not a great museum goer, but if I go to an art museum, if I'm honest, often I'm just like walking through the galleries, and I'm just scanning painting after painting after painting. And I'll pass somebody, and this person's just sitting there, and there's one particular painting, and they're just looking at it. Now, their experience and mine are totally different. I can leave, and again, I can check the box. I've been to such and such museum. I've not seen anything. And really what a hymn is inviting you to do is to stop and to look from a particular point of view and to engage with truth. And so this is a totally different style or manner of reading than what we're taught. And certainly as we're just, we're so accustomed, we're listening to podcasts, we're speeding them up so we can consume them more quickly. That's the mindset, to have something where you have to slow down and do it in a manageable way. You're not going to try to read 200 pages this way. You're going to read 5 stanzas. It's one page. You can do that even if you read it slow. It's only going to take you 15 minutes. So it's not a huge ask, but it's a different style of reading, and the result is really different. And I'll just, just to make this a little bit more concrete, in the podcast, I mentioned when I survey, and I just want to go through and show people what this might look like. Yeah. And this is a hymn that they're familiar with, and I think that's helpful. I'll just take up the first stanza. When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. Now, part of what's so helpful about this one stanza, it's dealing with the 2 biggest problems you're ever going to have in your spiritual life. One of them is pride. We all, exalt ourselves. How on earth do I dislocate myself from being the center of reality? I wake up every day, and that's my, standard posture. But equally, it's not just that I'm egocentric. It's that I'm an idolater. I love the wrong things. I don't know how to value things. And so what this hymn is saying from the very outset is that if you can actually see something in the cross, it can actually transform your love, and it can bring you to a place of humility. Now, once I read that, I'm in, because I'd pay lots of money if somebody could tell me how to do that. But even just that first line, when I survey the wondrous cross. Isaac Watts, who wrote this hymn, he wrote a book on the different affections, different emotions, and one of them was wonder. And so when he says the wondrous cross, that word wondrous, it's not accidental. In his thinking, wonder is the response of seeing something that does not make sense. It's the kind of thing, if you stumble upon this, it literally causes you to stop and think, what is going on? And so what he's saying is that when you actually encounter the cross in such a way that you stop and are scandalized by it, and you survey it, and a survey is not a glance, it's an extended look. And so, we could go through the rest of the hymn and pull a lot more out. But what this is saying, that if you can actually pause and really behold the cross what's going to happen is it's going to turn you inside out such that your love's redirected, and it's going to position you rightly before God with a spirit of humility. Now, again, if that doesn't whet your appetite as a Christian and think, I want to know more, then something's missing. And all of that's just within 4 lines. And so the way in which, these hymns can teach us to slow down, focus our mind, really dwell upon what's important, I think that can really help correct some of the tendencies that are unhelpful in a modern world that's always moving faster, more information. We're trying to consume it quicker. We just want the digested summary of it all. So that would be my advice. Read poetry, more specifically, read hymns, read slow, pay attention, and see what the Holy Spirit does.
I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Hymnpartial podcast, but before you go away, make sure you hit subscribe and ring the bell so that you are notified whenever we release new content on this channel. For more information, like how to support us or to sign up for our free weekly newsletter, make sure you head over to hymnpartial.com.